Have you ever watched a team stand at a crossroads, staring down a decision so delicate, so filled with risk and potential reward, that you can feel the tension crackling through the fan base like static electricity? Because that's exactly where the Philadelphia Phillies find themselves right now. A franchise desperate to reshape a roster while walking the tightrope of payroll limitations, trade speculation, and internal pressure. And at the center of it all stands one player who has become the lightning rod of the offseason, Alec Bohm. It's almost poetic how Bohm, once viewed as the long-term solution at third base, now finds himself swirling in rumors, debates, and heated barstool arguments across Philly. Is he part of the solution or part of the problem? Should he be traded now while his value is still respectable? Or should the Phillies double down and trust that a fully healthy version of him can finally deliver the breakout season everyone has been waiting for? And then came the comments that changed everything, the quiet but powerful message from inside the organization that they expect Bohm to be better in 2026, that they believe last year's injury-affected numbers do not represent who he truly is. Suddenly, the internal strategy became clearer. The Phillies may not have the financial flexibility to patch every hole through trades or signings. Some areas will have to be upgraded from the inside out. And Bohm, whether he likes it or not, has become the biggest internal bet of them all. Picture the moment. The off-season hums quietly in the background. Hot stove rumors flickering like scattered sparks as the city waits for the next big move. Dave Dombrowski sits in his office, juggling scenarios, knowing the margin for error is shrinking by the minute. Meanwhile, fans analyze Bohm's stat line from every angle, trying to reconcile the frustrating truth. His 2025 numbers, .287 average, 11 home runs, 59 RBIs, a .741 OPS, simply weren't enough. Not for a team with championship ambitions, not for a middle-of-the-order role, not for a player entering a contract year that may very well determine his long-term future in Philadelphia. But then comes the nuance. Bohm's rib fracture, his shoulder inflammation, the weeks he played at less than full strength, the quiet understanding behind the scenes that the numbers lacked context, the belief that 2024 wasn't a fluke, that the version of Bohm who hit .280 with 97 RBIs, who delivered in big moments, who stabilized the lineup, is still in there, waiting, preparing, brewing. And that belief is exactly why the Phillies see him as more than a trade chip. They see him as a potential solution to one of their biggest problems, lineup protection. Remember how the lineup contorted last season? Schwarber protecting Harper early, Harper protecting Schwarber late. Two elite hitters who needed a third pillar beside them, someone who could lengthen innings, force pitchers into mistakes, keep rallies alive. The Phillies think Bohm can be that guy again. But the fan base? They're split. Some believe in the bounce back. Some think the trade rumors should become reality before the inconsistency reappears. And that divide has created a fascinating emotional tension around Bohm's offseason. Manager Rob Thompson feels the pressure too. There's no room for long slumps, no time to let a player figure it out, no space for experiments when the NL East is tightening and the Phillies are fighting to keep their championship window open. Bohm will not get a gentle glide into the season. He will be expected to perform immediately, decisively, relentlessly, because this is a contract year that could define his entire career arc. So now the stage is set. A player at a crossroads. A franchise betting on internal growth. A fan base demanding answers. And a 2026 season looming like a moment of truth. This is the Alec Bohm question, and we're just getting started. Now, let's dig into the heart of this situation, the crossroads where Alec Bohm's individual trajectory collides with the Phillies' organizational strategy. Because the deeper you look into this offseason, the clearer the tension becomes. Philadelphia wants to contend now, not in 2 years, not when the prospects arrive, right now. And when a team has championship expectations but limited payroll flexibility, internal improvement becomes more than a luxury, it becomes a necessity. That's why Bohm is suddenly one of the most important players in the entire franchise, whether he remains on the roster or becomes a trade chip. Start with the numbers. On the surface, Bohm's 2025 line looks respectable. A .287 average, solid contact ability, a bat that rarely slumps into strikeout spirals. But dig deeper, and the picture becomes less flattering. His power dipped. His OPS dropped to its lowest point since 2021. His slugging sat at .409, far too low for someone expected to hit in the heart of the order. And while batting average can keep you afloat, it doesn't carry lineups in big moments. It doesn't scare opposing pitchers. It doesn't force managers to rethink matchups in the late innings of must-win games. This is why the Phillies need more from him, and why they believe more is possible. You can almost feel the front office weighing the variables. On one side of the scale, Bohm's injury issues in 2025, the rib fracture that limited his rotation, the shoulder inflammation that robbed him of the torque needed for power. Add to that the evidence from 2024, when a fully healthy Bohm delivered career-best run production, 97 RBIs, a .779 OPS, a 117 OPS plus, and a presence in the middle of the lineup that genuinely changed games. That version of Bohm wasn't just a contributor, he was a stabilizing force. On the other side of the scale, the trade rumors, the whispers that Dombrowski would move him for the right return. The possibility that another team sees him as a high-floor player with untapped upside. The reality that the Phillies, if they want major upgrades elsewhere, may have to sacrifice something significant. And Bohm is exactly the kind of player teams call about, young enough, proven enough, and controllable enough to headline a meaningful trade package. That's the razor-thin line the Phillies are walking. Should they cash in now, moving Bohm for pitching or outfield help? Or should they bet on the internal improvement they believe is coming? The organization's message, at least publicly, is clear. They expect Bohm to be better. Not just slightly better, significantly better. They see him as the ideal protection piece behind Harper or Schwarber. They see him rediscovering that gap power. They see him regaining the ability to punish mistakes, pull inside fastballs, and shoot outside pitches to the opposite field with authority. In short, they see a version of Bohm that can elevate the lineup from good to dangerous. But here's where the tension deepens. Manager Rob Thompson doesn't have the luxury of waiting. After a 2025 season filled with scrutiny, tactical second-guessing, and postseason disappointment, he enters 2026 with pressure that can be felt from the ballpark gates all the way to the clubhouse walls. He needs production early. He needs confidence in his lineup structure. He can't allow slow starts to linger. That means Bohm's leash will be shorter than ever, fair or unfair. Add one more layer, the contract year. Bohm knows exactly what's at stake. Players entering their final season under team control often face a mental tightrope. Perform, and you secure your future. Struggle, and uncertainty engulfs everything. And for a player already under the microscope, that pressure intensifies. So, what happens now? Does Bohm rise to the moment, transforming pressure into performance? Does he become the internal improvement the Phillies are banking on? Or does the weight of expectations, trade rumors, and contract implications fracture the confidence he needs to succeed? This is the axis the Phillies' offseason spins on. A player both vital and vulnerable, a possible solution, and a possible trade piece all at once. And here we are. The final turn in this offseason storyline, where the Phillies' hopes, risks, and roster strategy converge on one player standing at the threshold of the most defining season of his career. Alec Bohm isn't just another infielder entering a contract year. He has become the emblem of the Phillies' internal gamble. The belief that improvement from within can be just as powerful as a blockbuster trade or a big-ticket signing. But belief alone won't carry the franchise through a grueling NL East. It has to translate into production, and the weight of that expectation now rests squarely on Bohm's shoulders. Let's zoom out for a moment and look at the bigger picture. The Phillies' championship window is open, wide enough to see opportunity, but narrow enough to feel pressure closing in around the edges. The team's core is aging. The payroll is heavy. Competition in the National League grows fiercer every year. This is not the moment for hesitation or half measures. Every roster decision carries consequences. Every internal improvement matters. And that's why the Bohm question sits at the center of Philadelphia's offseason storylines. The organization sees a path. They look at 2024 and see proof that Bohm can be a middle-of-the-order force when healthy. They look at 2025 and see reasons, not excuses, to believe the dip in power wasn't permanent, that the fractured rib and shoulder issues quietly drained his swing of the torque needed to drive the ball. They look at 2026 and see a chance for Bohm to reestablish himself, not just as a reliable hitter, but as a dangerous one. A player capable of stretching out the lineup and protecting the superstars who define this franchise. But the baseball world doesn't sit still. As the Phillies bank on internal improvement, the rest of the league watches, evaluates, and circles like sharks sensing movement in the water. Teams know exactly how valuable a healthy Bohm can be. They know his contract situation. They know the Phillies' payroll limitations. And that's why the trade rumors refuse to disappear. For every optimistic fan envisioning a bounce-back season in red pinstripes, there's another asking whether trading Bohm now might bring the greater return, the missing piece, the spark needed to push the Phillies to the next level. This is the tension that defines the moment. Should the Phillies trust the player they've developed, the hitter they've nurtured, the potential they still believe in? Or should they strike aggressively on the trade market, leveraging Bohm's remaining value to chase external upgrades they may not be able to afford otherwise? It's the kind of strategic dilemma that separates postseason teams from championship teams, choosing not the easiest path, but the one with the greatest long-term payoff. And then there's Bohm himself. Players feel the weight of these storylines, even when they don't say it publicly. He knows the stakes. He knows the whispers. He knows that every swing this spring, every early season game, every slump or surge will be magnified through the lens of his contract year. That pressure can crush a player, or it can forge them into something stronger. For Bohm, this is the ultimate test of both talent and mentality. Because if he rises to the moment, if he rediscovers the gap-to-gap power, if he becomes the run producer the Phillies desperately need, if he steadies the middle of the order, Philadelphia suddenly looks like a more complete team, a lineup with balance, a roster with fewer holes, a contender with an internal story of resurgence rather than reliance on external fixes. But if he struggles, the noise grows louder, the trade rumors swell, the questions about his long-term fit become unavoidable. And for a franchise under pressure to win now, difficult decisions follow quickly. That's the reality of this season. Bohm's performance could shape not just his own future, but the Phillies' entire competitive trajectory. And now, as we close this story, I want to hear from you, the heartbeat of this channel and the voice of Phillies Nation. Do you believe Bohm will bounce back in 2026? Do you think the Phillies should hold on to him as a key lineup piece, or would trading him now bring the bigger return this team needs? Is he a future anchor or a trade chip waiting to be moved? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is the conversation defining the Phillies' offseason. Hit that like button if you believe internal improvement can change a season, and don't forget to share this video with every Philly fan who's debating the fate of Alec Bohm right now. Because one thing's for sure, the 2026 season hasn't even begun, and the Bohm storyline is already shaping up to be one of the most dramatic, consequential arcs of the entire year.